Hello and welcome back to your favorite podcast, the Golden Nugget Podcast. I'm your host, Anna Golden, joined with one of your best friends, my best friend, Enoch. Enoch, give us a shout.
Hey guys.
Guys, we have a very special guest today.
We do.
This was, time.
Long awaited.
Time got put into this. We had to talk to his manager. His people had to get back with our people.
He had to fly us in.
He's on a deadline right now because he's got to make a flight.
He's got places to be. So
his clock is ticking. All Give true. It up for the one. It's like, well, this was all true. We're here with Todd Delaney.
I'm like, that's who this is?
Perfect.
Wow, I'm
This
honored.
is Todd Galberth. Todd, I just have to ask you to tell that one story of when a church actually thought they booked Todd Delaney and not you.
Yeah, that was a very humbling day. I was in DC. I'm not gonna say the name of the church, and it was crazy because my booking manager hit me. He was like, "Yo, I just got a weird call. They asked me if you brought your guitar, if you're gonna play your guitar tonight." I'm like, I don't own a guitar. I don't play guitar, and so we were a little confused. And then we got to the church that night, and it kind of hit me. I was like, "Oh my God, these people think I'm Todd Delaney." So then I went and looked at the flyer because I had posted the flyer. I was like, "No, I'm on the flyer.
Yeah.
It's me, Todd Galberth." And I was up. They introduced. Well, the pastor of the church got up to introduce me. He said, "Hey guys, we have this young man here tonight, and he's going to bless us and take us further in worship. Everybody on your feet and make some noise for the ministry of Todd Delaney." And I was standing on the side of the
Did you just choke?
I just busted out laughing. Like, I'm right behind him. I just busted out laughing. And then the people in the crowd, here's the best part. The people in the crowd were like, no, that's Todd Galberth. That's Todd Galberth. He said, he knows who he is. Now make some noise.
The confidence.
Not him making them feel stupid.
Oh my God! So that was a very humbling experience.
That's
but,
good.
It's not about me. It's not about Todd.
It's not about any Todd.
You know what I mean?
It's just about God. Put that on your next T-shirt, please.
It's about God.
Todd, we're just so happy to have you here. Todd and I don't know when we met. Actually, I'll tell you when Todd became real to me. We were at Tasha Cobbs Leonard's recording. It's always funny saying her full name. I'm just trying to give you guys context. Her live recording for Heart, Passion, Pursuit, which the single on the album is called I'm Getting Ready. Todd wrote that song. I feel like people know that. You know what I've actually realized? People don't know who's ever written a song. And I'm like, it's so funny to see people be like, no way, you wrote that song, you're a part of that? Todd's an incredible songwriter. And people have cut his songs that he's never even sung. So anyway, I'm getting ready. So Todd's there. We're all there, like a bunch of worship leaders, like a collective of us. One day, one of our friends' moms, she makes cakes called the Right Slice. And these are the best cakes in Atlanta, I would like to say. Like pound cake, incredible. One of our friends ordered one of these cakes, and so it gets brought into this room of so many people, and Todd was like, hey, I'll buy that cake so we can all eat it here. It turns into a war over this cake, so much so that it was so uncomfortable for everybody in the room. When I saved Todd's name in my phone for the first time, I put him as Todd Cake because that's all I remembered you for.
That was
the tension was
remember
so
the
high.
Details behind it.
I think you thought she was joking when she said no.
I don't know.
Because she was like, this is for something else. And you're like, oh, no, it's okay. I'll pay for it. And she was like, I can pay for the cake.
Yeah, it got weird.
It got weird fast. But that's when I met you. That was in what, 2016?
16, maybe. I think 2016.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then Todd and I actually worked on staff together at a church for
2 years.
2 years. Felt like 10. 2 to 10 years. It's like when you're in an incubator and things just grow so much faster. That's probably how it felt. We worked on staff together, and then we just became so close. There's a video of us that we can probably insert in for those visual watchers on YouTube.
It changed the game.
It really did.
That video kind of put you on the map. Nobody knew who you were before that video.
Wow, thank you for saying that.
What song was it?
It was a moment in church. We were doing Ty Tribbett's.
Chasing after, right? Yeah.
From faith
to faith, from glory to glory. I would love to give context to this video actually, because here's a little bit that Todd loves to do. My voice is gone. I can't.
Hear, guys. You hear my voice. I sound like My voice sounds like a 1985 Cadillac DeVille.
There's like, and at this point, Tasha is our worship pastor. She's hammered down on this song for quite a long time, okay? So I feel so much pressure on this song. And I'm like, I learned my part. This song is so intricate with parts. It like splits open. Anyway, there was only a few of us that were on this moment. But right before we go out there, Todd's like, I can't hit that moment. I can't hit that note. So I'm going to need you to have to take the melody. And I'm like, no, I worked so hard on my part. I was like, all right, whatever. Like, here to serve. We get out there. Todd not only sings that note, but decides to go above it and like do a little run. And that's when everything took over me. And I was like, wow. And she
literally said wow in the mic. They put that video in this podcast,
well,
it's gonna be
you guys can hear it. But that was honestly, I know you're joking, but I used to go places and people recognized me from that video. Like I would go lead worship places. They're like, aren't you the girl from that video with Todd Galberth? And I was like, you guys know Todd Galberth?
That's wild.
It's just because, the way you carry yourself, it's so humble. I'll give a little bit of context who you are and then you can correct me. Okay. Todd grew up in North Carolina.
Rayford, North Carolina.
And if you ever go back with Todd to North Carolina, he's hometown hero, I would say. They love you there, buddy. They do.
It's home.
It is.
It's home.
Who's your really good friend there? Jeremy
Wright.
Yeah. You would love it. Every time I think of that, I think you and Jeremy taking over North Carolina. And you've led worship for a long time. You released 2 records now, officially 2 full-length records. But
there is a third, but don't research it.
Really? Yeah. Didn't you also have like stage plays that are out there?
Yeah, maybe.
A couple little soundtracks to stage plays. Actually, Naomi asked me last week because I told her about this. She was like, send me that. I was like, I'm going to find it. But something I love about you, Todd, is the way you lead worship. And I think that we did a poll a little while ago and it was like, hey guys, what do you want to talk about on the podcast? And a lot of it was worship leading. So I wanted to interview, you truly are one of my favorite worship leaders. You're dynamic in every room that you're in, even it's predominantly white or it's predominantly black, or if it's interracial, whatever it looks like. If it's like a CCM background or a gospel background, that doesn't really stop you from being able to minister naturally how you do, but you're able to steward those rooms so well. And I'd love you to talk about a little bit of your background. Like how do you feel like you balance that so well?
Man, it's initially I didn't think I did, because I was always a little surprised at some of the rooms that I got or some of the churches that I got invited to. There sometimes I would be like, okay, did you watch any videos of me? Like I would see the type of church.
Sure. You're like, do you know who I am?
Did you think I was Todd Dulaney? You know what I mean? I would look at, the stylistically the worship flow of an event or a church that I would be going to. And I would be like, okay, all right, well, let's go. And then at the beginning, I would try to dumb down who I was to fit in. And I'll never forget, I actually did that. I did that at a church, and the pastor came to me afterwards and was like, yo, I didn't bring you here to be like us.
Well,
like you being authentically you was the reason we wanted you to come.
Wow.
And he was like, yo, we didn't need you to kind of acquiesce to who we are and how we do things. Like, no, we wanted you to get on that stage and set yourself on fire and go and bring us up to where we feel like you are with your passion. And so once I got that freedom from that moment, I was like, no, it was like a revelation of like, no, what God has put in me and how he's put it in me, the execution of that, because it's authentic and it's real. It's like, yo, that translate. It doesn't matter who's in the room. You know what I mean? Authenticity will always cut through. It doesn't matter the denomination. It doesn't matter the age group. It's like when people see somebody on that platform on fire for the Lord, and not just on fire, but authentic and like just singing to Jesus in a way, and it becomes contagious. And so from that moment on, I was like, no, I'm just going to be me. And if you invite me, This is what you get.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you have to steward moments.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So I'm
You
not
have to
trying to
honor
say
the house
yeah,
that
you
you're
honor
in.
the house exactly, but you don't have to dumb down who you are.
Yeah, not sacrificing who you are. And I love that about you. Do you think, because you started like super young in church, you started on drums, right?
Yeah, I was like 15, 16, not too young, but I was like playing drums. I had like a microphone cord that wrapped around the hi-hat. So I was like on the drums singing. Neck was
I love that. And so, okay, starting just like your church, where you grew up, how did that transition you into like being a worship leader that traveled around to churches and then eventually, because it's almost like this happens so much now, and I would love to show people like how did becoming a worship leader turn into like becoming a bit of a worship artist?
Yeah, that's weird. And so for me, I think the thing for me is that I never desired to do what I'm doing now.
It's huge.
Like I just wanted to lead people in encounters with Jesus. And I never thought I was really that good. I think in my brain, because I was an adult, like I was like 24, 25 when I started doing this.
Yeah.
So you're thinking like, I was in high school, I didn't think I could do this. When I was 21, I didn't think I could do this. When I was 22, nowhere in my mind or my heart did I even desire to make a career.
Sure.
Out of this.
It also like wasn't a thing.
Right.
Like we see it now. I talked about this in my podcast last week with Rita Springer, and like people or kids in like middle school are like, I want to become like a worship leader.
Yeah.
When you said that like 15 years ago, it was like, I will have a job and then I
lead
will
worship,
also lead
right.
worship.
I will
like
go to rehearsals on Thursdays.
Exactly. It wasn't like a profession. It wasn't like a major you could have in college. It was
Right.
just like, I don't know. So I think the purity of that too. We led worship this morning and I felt like this thing hit my spirit. And it was just this note of, I'm never going to be mad at anybody for like promoting anything that they've released. Like you put so much effort in project, the Lord gave you vision and you're promoting that, and that's everything. I think when it comes to self-promotion, where that falls flat to me in this space is like, I think the Lord will always promote who he wants to promote when it comes to worship. And I think that's a huge question that I always get, and I'm sure you get this too, whenever you get to do like a panel or Q&A. It's like, well, what do you say for like a new artist who's trying to break out in the worship space? I'm like, I don't think that exists.
Yes.
I think that the Lord has to literally pick you out and like elevate that.
Because this was never meant to be a genre.
No, never.
You know what I mean? Like I think people miss that. This was never meant to be a genre.
It's so interesting, and it honestly has to, even now, and I'm sure you can attest to this too, like you constantly have to kill ambition.
Oh my
you
God.
constantly have to lay that down because it can so easily become an idol. And there are amazing opportunities now, and it just looks so different. And I feel so privileged that we even get to have that we get to live off of what we do. Like it's honestly shocking to me at all sides. But within that, I just don't know that striving to be where I think only the Lord can set you in those places.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird tension.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you have so many people, like I get asked all the time, like, how did you get to where you are? How do you get to do this? And everybody wants this like answer. And I'm like, I don't even know. Like the only thing I can tell you is like serving. I served in a local church.
So good.
Like every door that God has opened for me has come from me serving in my local church.
Yeah.
When I wasn't getting paid, when I didn't even know I could get paid or if I should get paid. Like God opened doors. He sent people across my path.
Yeah.
Like as I'm worshiping, as I'm singing, as I'm leading teams, he would allow someone across my path to connect me with somebody else. It was like even how I got connected to Tasha. It was like somebody rolled up and was like, yo, that's an amazing situation. How I got connected to James. Somebody was like, oh my God, this dude is in North Carolina in this little church singing his heart away, and you got to meet this dude. It was all through my local church, not at a conference, not through an American Idol moment, not because I went viral on YouTube.
Yeah.
I was serving faithfully in my local church, and instead of me chasing people to come see me, God allowed people to pop in rooms where I was at.
That's so amazing. And I think that too, I'm sure there's so many seasons of life. Like I talk about this sometimes when The anointing versus appointing. Christine Kane has a beautiful message about this. It's when she was at Bethel. I can't remember what it was called. It may even be called that. But she talked about David, of when he was anointed versus when he was appointed to be king. Like, he was anointed when he was in the field. He was anointed after Goliath. But there's like such a long gap of like when he actually got the authority to become king. And I look at now, like how you're talking about serving, like being planted in your church, getting those chops. That's truly where the Lord like starts to refine you, and starts to really just speak identity over you. I'm so grateful that I didn't get the platform that I thought I deserved when I was younger. Because the Lord let me stumble around in the dark a little bit and work things out that I don't have to do press conferences about now. Does that make sense? Now I'm like, I'm so glad that the Lord kept me. So if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I've gotten so many words over my life. I know what the Lord has told me, that I am going to the nations. I know that he's spoken that over me. Do not despise the time where you feel like you're hidden during development. What would you say to someone who's like, hey, I do feel this burden to write songs for people. I do feel like the Lord has gifted me in this, like, but it's not looking like the season that I'm in doesn't look like what I've been promised.
Yeah. I would tell them, do not discount your now trying to get to what's next.
It's good.
So many times we mismanage seasons because all we can think about and run after, or all that we're consumed with getting to what's in our head.
Yeah.
And we discount what's in front of us.
Yeah.
And so we mismanage people, we mismanage opportunities, we don't steward seasons well, and we treat people wrong because we feel like in our brain it's like, I know I'm built and I'm made for so much more. And it's like, God's like, no, can you be faithful over this small thing?
Yeah. Good.
Can you be faithful? Can you be a good steward over this, right? Before I bring you here, so that you treat people well on the next level, so that you don't mismanage situations on this level, I need you to look at what's in front of you now and stop trying so desperately. Because some people start striving.
Yeah.
And it's like, when God is anointed, like where I am now, I didn't strive to get to.
Totally.
I'm like, dang, how did I get here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, the battles that I faced once I got here are something totally different.
Yeah.
But to get to where I am wasn't hard. That wasn't the hard thing. But I so appreciate you, like, man, all of those seasons where nobody knew who I was. All of those seasons where I was just at this little country church in the woods singing my heart out for Jesus and not saving something for the next time. It was like, no, I'm going to give my all in this little thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to give my all in this small place. I'm going to give my all in this room that maybe nobody will know that I'm in.
Yeah.
And, it's like, yo, if you cannot learn to appreciate what God has given you and steward it well, to me, that's like the key that unlocks the door for God to be able to trust you with what's next.
Yeah. I think that's such a testament too to who you are. Like, all the things that you have access to now, I feel like even at the beginning of our friendship, you necessarily weren't doing all of the same that you are now. Like, the Lord has expanded your platform in so much. Well, I guess his platform through you, all the things, semantics. But all that to say, you never carried yourself differently. Like, just as much as you remain like humble now, you still carried the same authority you did in those seasons. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's because I know the truth.
Yeah.
I know, like, if it was like, people ask me all the time, I was like, man, they feel like you're such like you're super centered. And I'm like, it's because I know the truth. I know I don't deserve this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll never take it for granted. Like, I don't care what season of life I'm in, grateful will always be the posture of my heart, because I know the truth. I know the behind the scenes. I know the rated R version. And to know that God has been faithful, that God has been good, that he has not treated me as my sins deserved. And so for me, it's like, yo, like, yeah, I don't deserve this stuff. Like, this is, and that's why I steward it like that. This is the Lord's stuff.
Yeah. And
so for me, it's like, I'm just going to be grateful, do my best to be as good of a human being, as good of a father, as good as a husband, as good as a friend, as good as a worship leader I can possibly be. I'm not going to get it right all the time, but I'm going to try my hardest, because I know that I'm literally living in the grace and the mercy of God. So any door, every platform, I view it as that's God's platform.
Yeah.
Any door, that's God's door. Because I don't deserve this door. I deserve the opposite of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is God's opportunity. This is God's platform. This is God's concert. And so for me, it's like, yo, I always keep the truth very close.
Yeah.
Very, very, very close.
That's
like,
so
no. Chill out.
This has nothing to do with
Yeah, like,
Like-
yo, chill. And it's like to know, and also, like, I tell people all the time, it's like, I don't care, especially when I start, people who trust me to be able to speak into their life. And I'm like, yo, man, I sense a little arrogance on that. And I'm like, yo, you got to understand, if you left Earth today, nothing would stop.
Yeah.
The conference that you were invited to, it's still going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The record label that you own, they're still going to create music.
Yeah.
Nothing will stop.
Man.
Nothing can stop if you're not here. So it's like, yo, while you are here, steward it well.
It's beautiful.
Steward it well, man.
What would you say to your younger self before any of this? Like, if you could go back and remind yourself one thing.
I would, I think the humility part, you can't call yourself humble. Then you're not humble.
But now I'm swimming in humility.
I mean, this is a very practical thing. I was literally thinking about this with my son the other day. It's like, I would like get so more financial savvy.
That's good.
I would just like with financial planning. I feel like I hit a wave, and I grew up very modest. I won't say I was poor. Were we? I don't know. I was like,
Relative, I guess.
you know, you know what I mean? But
Sure.
one of the things that you are not like, you just don't get taught very early is about how to manage money.
Manage it. Mm-hmm.
And for me, I wish I could have been a little better steward, or had the wherewithal, or to know where to put my money in, and taxes and all.
Yeah. Pour it out.
we all just paid a lot of taxes.
I like tax season just happened, and we're all just like, all right.
But just like, I wish I would have, and that, I know that kind of seems more carnal, but it's like so real. It's like, yo, I wish I could have learned the things that I know now that I got at 40.
No, I think that's
at 24.
being like such a good steward. We were at a prayer service this morning, and Pastor Darius Daniels, he was talking about in scripture when it talks about like the things that you're ignorant in, like the enemy has power over that.
Yeah.
Because it's your blind spot. And I think that money is a huge one that can be that way. Because then now, if you weren't financially sound, now you're like striving to like get events, and now you're doing things that are outside of your call or outside of your anointing, just because you didn't plan for things like that. So I think everything practical can turn spiritual because it's like you just didn't set yourself up.
Absolutely.
That's a great, I would say, note for people. So now here you are. Mm-hmm. You just released Encounter.
Yes.
And you're about to do another record. Can we talk about that? I'm just jumping into your future.
I'm actually, I think I'm going to record this year. I don't have any songs yet.
With releasing your first record, which was incredible, your second record, which, I mean, I'm a huge fan of, that you recorded twice.
Because you wrote on it and you sang on it.
A part of it, I felt like I was in the bones
incredible.
of it. No, it's so incredible. Our church loves your music. So many churches do. I love the songs that you write. And I am so excited for your next record. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
So this is what's in my heart. Like,
okay.
I really want the next record, which I think I'm going to record this year, to be an extension of the last record. Like, I wanted to call it Encounter 2.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to call it Damascus.
Yeah.
I think I told you about that.
You did.
Yeah, I think I'm going to call it Damascus. And it's really just like, I just want to do music. Like, my passion is, number one, write songs for the church.
Yeah.
Number two, I want to make sure I create a record that when somebody says, man, I don't feel good, I want to put that on. Man, I'm depressed. Mm-hmm. I want to put that on. Man, my mom just died. I need to put that on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that is my heart.
Like a healing balm.
Yeah. It's like when you're trying, it was like, yo, I just need, I was literally in the airport the other day. I was getting on the plane. I was just feeling a little low. And I was like, man, what can I put on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I want any record that I'm a part of to be.
Yeah.
I want to create music and songs that when people are like, yo, I need to be in God's presence, man, I feel so low, man, I feel so, what can I put on? So I really want this because, and it comes from, just like, when Saul turned to Paul, Damascus Road, like that encounter he had with Jesus, that it was crazy that I think they were stoning Stephen and Saul was there. Saul was actually holding the garments of the people who were stoning Stephen. And Stephen was preaching the gospel. So he was actually listening to the word, and it had no impact on his life.
Wow.
And then he got on the road and had an encounter with God.
Wow.
And changed everything. It wasn't the preach word. It wasn't a message. And that's not knocking the preach word at all. But it was a real, nobody could take credit for it. It wasn't, right in the sermonic solo.
Yeah.
It was like I was on the road and I met a man.
Wow.
And my life changed forever. And so that's what I want the record to be, the thing. Like, yo, when I put this music on, I was in my car. I was in a hospital room. I was sitting in my living room, and I heard this. And the next thing I knew, I was in the presence of God.
Wow.
And something changed. So that's the heart behind where we're going with the next record.
So the bar's set pretty high.
Yeah, and Encounter, man, that record, like that was I knew when we left that room that night, I said, this is special.
Which night?
The second time.
Todd recorded this whole album.
No, I did not record this whole album. I recorded one half.
Okay.
Then I recorded another half.
Half and half. But how many years was it apart?
Like, is it like right before the pandemic? So like 2.
2 years? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
but you left night 2.
I left night 2 of the recording.
Yeah.
And I sat in the back of the room. We were at Forward City, Pastor Travis Green's church.
It was incredible.
And I sat in the back of the room and I was like, this is special.
Yeah.
And to see what God has done and is continuing to do through this record, the churches and the people who are singing these songs, from white, black, from Ireland to Australia to Africa to Kentucky. You know what I mean? And like to see like people really being blessed and the fruit. That's all I want. It's like I'm like, yo, I just want to see fruit.
Yeah.
There has to be fruit, and the fruit of this record. To know, man, we created songs that I had somebody the other day literally said, man, yo, I work at a hospice house, and he said, do you know what artist I hear more than any other artist? He said, your song. He said, like, these people want to hear. There was like, it's something about your voice and how God uses you that even in a dead end situation, that people still get to encounter the Lord in a way. It's like, yo, if this is it, I want to go out in this type of presence.
Man.
And that's like,
it's powerful.
Wow. And the opposite of that, a guy from North Carolina just told me, like, yo, man, I told the doctors my mom was in a coma. And he said, I want this song playing 24/7. Lord, you are good. He said, I want this song playing 24 hours a day, right by my mom. I want her to hear this song. He said, because she's going to get out of this coma. And he said, bro, they were saying she was brain dead, nothing that anybody can do, gone. And bro, my mom is walking and talking right now. She came out of the coma, and she was like, she could hear. It was crazy.
That's honestly like you can't even wrap your mind around.
Yeah, it's like, wow. And it's like,
only God.
You know, and and that's the humbling part about what we get to do, and that's why it deserves to be stewarded well.
Yeah. Because
of the impact that's taking place from the purity of what God does through us.
Yeah.
You know?
What would you say to like when I hear these like massive stories, even like through music that we get to be a part of, it's almost like I can't even compute it. Because you genuinely know that at the end of the day, it really had nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Like you got the honor to carry the song. You got the honor to like let the Lord use you through that. But it's these like heavy moments. What would you say to like the young worship leader who's navigating like, okay, people are coming up to me after service. They're saying they experienced the Lord through this. And I'm trying to point them back to Jesus, but I'm also not trying to be like, glory to God. You know, you know, when you're trying to like pay someone a compliment and they're just like won't even listen to you, and you're like, all right.
I'll never get a pastor who told me, he's like, yo, it's okay to say thank you.
That's great.
Like, it's really okay to say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was like, okay, yeah, was it God? Yeah, it was God using you. He said, he said this to me. He said, if it was God, it would have been a lot better than that.
It's like if it would have been just God, it would just been even better.
It would have been a whole lot better than that if it was all God. So he was like, yo, it's okay to say thank you. And, you know, and people know the posture. Like, people can tell, like, yo, people come up to you, man, you did a great job. And he's like, yo, thank you, man. Just grateful. You know, I'm grateful to serve. But it's okay to say thank you and all of these things. And we was having this real tough conversation. And I'm like, yo, about, you know, somebody being upset or feeling some type of way that they didn't win. And I'm like, yo, this will always be weird to me, because like, we're the only genre of music that we don't represent ourselves. Like, this isn't our thing.
Yeah.
Like, we don't represent ourselves. Like, it's not ours. Like, they can do that in R&B, they can do that in rap, they can do that in pop. You can't do that over here, because it's not. We are literally stewarding something that does not belong to us. Yeah. And it's like, yo, to see somebody like get, you know, and don't get me wrong, I had to fight that this year myself. It's a real thing.
It's such a real emotion, and it's never to like say, hey, you shouldn't feel that. It's like, hey, realize what we're doing. Because it is that, like, when you sit there and you've lost something, or you're like, or you got so excited because you thought you might, and it's like, oh man, there is that disappointment, but it is a recentering and having to be around people who are like, but you know that doesn't even mean anything.
Yeah.
Like,
and when I tell you, I even say that, I have like a mirror in front of my face, because like, legitimately, when Encounter dropped, I mean, every single week, you're gonna win every award. You're gonna win every category. I heard that from people
who are like
who I respected,
kind of a part of the decision making.
Yeah. So it wasn't like just. I mean, there were regular people. When I say regular people, just like people who I would see or people who heard the music. It's, oh my God. When I remember the announcement for the Stellar Awards came out, people were like, oh my God, all these people just flooded my inbox. Oh, you're going to win. So, and then I heard that also from just people who I respected, people who I was like, oh man, you really thought it was that? And I heard this for a year. And I sit on this couch.
With no awards on this award.
With not a plaque, not an honorable mention, zero. And all I could go back to was in my head. All I could do is go in my head and think about how all the times I used to think like, man, why did people get so da-da-da? I'm like, yo, this isn't our stuff. And I had to catch myself. I was like, yo, because I was like, yo, I had like 24 hours. I went to the Doves. When I went to the Doves and I didn't win to the Doves, I gave myself 24 hours. Got a friend of mine who was like, yo, it's okay, feel it. He said, it's okay, like, you're human too. You know what I mean? Like, you're human, like, feel it.
You got excited about something and you got disappointed in it. Yeah. But then it's like, after that, you gather yourself and you realize.
I gather myself. I'm like, this ain't my stuff.
Yeah.
It's not my stuff. And then God was like, yo, are you more excited about something that you can sit on your table, or somebody coming out of a coma? Yeah. Which one do you want? Yeah. Which one excites you more? Which
it's a little bit of a heart check.
Yeah. Which one makes you want to get back and say, Lord, give me another song to write?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That perspective is huge. And I think too, something that you kind of touched on was, as much as you can, even like, we can sit on this couch and have super healthy conversation and like be so self-aware, and next year be off the road. Does that make sense? Of like, it's a constant laying down of like self. It's a constant checking your motives. It's a constant like putting your ambition completely like on the altar. And it's great to have friends who are also in it. Like, it's great to have friends that are also doing the exact same thing, but have great perspective on it. And I think for me, like, you have been such a stable like voice in my life to like bounce stuff off of and like that. And just to come back to the reality of like, we're both just worship leaders. Yeah. Like, and we get to be at our local churches on Sunday morning and see people's lives change and see like that. To me, I'm like, okay, this is real life. Like, I was in Nashville, I think like 2 weeks ago, and working on like amazing things. And it's like, it feels like a different world. And then I go back home to Dallas, and there was a new guy on our worship team, and he was like sending his outfit like 4 days before. Like we send each other outfits so we all coordinate. And he sent his outfit like so many days before than the rest of us normally do. And I don't know why that just hit me of like, oh, this is all that matters. I'm like, we got a new person on our team who's like so excited, who feels so honored to be a part, who like in tears left that service. And I remember I walked backstage, I was like, okay, we can work on this. I'm like thinking in my mind, like, you know, and he's like, man, that was the most incredible thing I've ever been able to be a part of. Wow. And it's like, you just get perspective like that around you. And then you're just like, what am I even, what actually does matter? Yeah. And I think that it's that too. If you're wanting to be an artist, if you feel like the Lord's put that on your heart, like what Todd was saying, like serve. Like it has nothing to do with you. Don't be, not accessible. At the end of the day, like we're not green room people. Like have people that you can lock eyes with, that you can like pray with. Don't become aloof. That's where we create this weird celebrity culture in this genre that none of us want. I don't think that's any of our desires. So like I like to believe that. Yeah,
I want to believe that.
I like to believe
that. For me, but I'm just saying that stuff. A few people came to my brain when you said that. But anyway, keep going.
I'm like, but I think that we don't set out for that. Like, crush that. Let's not make that the norm in this space. And I think it's so beautiful what the Lord's doing in worship music, and the fact that He's taken it so like wide. The fact that it is a genre now. The fact that there's so many people that are releasing songs that feel comfortable to like release those songs that the Lord has given them. I think that there's never too much. I don't think that it's too crowded of a space. I think the Lord is always calling people to release music. Does it always look the same? Does it always look like it's going every single place? No. But I think the Lord calls you to have your specific voice for a certain group of people or a certain season of life, and just fighting to keep that purity. And I thank you for like protecting so much of the purity in your own space. It's felt so much in your music. That's why I think people love singing your songs, even cutting your songs. Like the way that you write is so connective to the Lord, and it speaks to your relationship with the Lord. And I'm just honored to be your friend and really just have you on the podcast. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up with the podcast is called the Golden Nugget Podcast, obviously because my last name's Golden, but also because at the end of every podcast, we basically do a summary of like the Golden Nugget is. What would you say if people could take away one like nugget of knowledge from everything that you've said today? What would that be?
If you are a worship leader, if you're serving in any capacity, I guess I would say in ministry, it's just the truth of the fact that we are stewarding something that does not belong to us. And if you can keep that in front of you, and I think what I keep pushing to my team all the time, they hear me say, this is the Lord's stuff. Yeah. This is the Lord's stuff. This is God's, this is God's microphone. This is God's platform. Those are God's cameras. Like, this is the Lord's stuff. And let's steward it like that. You know what I mean? It'll change your perspective. It'll change how you show up for rehearsal. It'll change how late you are. It'll change. It'll make you be on time. It'll make you show up prepared. Yeah. When you say, no, this is the Lord's stuff. I'm gonna learn these lyrics because this is the Lord's stuff. Yeah. I'm gonna pray this week and show up and be the best, the most prepared, prayerful, most beautiful spirited person I can possibly be, because I'm walking into a room that belongs to God, and I'm gonna sing songs that came from God, and we're gonna bless God's people. Like, this is the Lord's stuff. That's and so good, I Todd. Get to do it. I get to it blows my mind. I say this every week. I get to co-labor with God. The God who created the heavens and the earth, the God that said, let there be light, and there was light, actually wants to use my raggedy butt. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I get to do this. And it's like, yo, it makes you become a more grateful person, more appreciative person. And it makes you it also humbles you. And like, yo, who am I that you're even mindful of me? Yeah. That's beautiful. So this is the Lord's stuff. Steward it like that. And it's crazy. It's like leading worship. It's like we lead people in God's presence. Like, we're there to lead people in God's presence. But like, yo, the people who are benefited the most from worship, it's not God. it's us.
It's so crazy.
It's not even fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair. We come to do this thing for him, but we're the ultimately we're the benefactors.
Man. And it's like, this is, someone referred to this the other day, and it was like a Bill Johnson quote, and it's like, this is the only time that we'll be able to worship out of need, because in heaven, like all needs are met. Yeah. And it's like, what an honor right now that I get to like worship you out of a need. And that you like meet me in that need. Yeah. And I think it's so stunning. I feel the same way. I honestly get shocked all the time about what we get to do. Yeah. And it's really just like, man, give me the perspective, Lord, to always know that it's about you. And even with like those little things you're saying, like showing up on time, like ironing your shirt, you know what I mean? Like if you knew that the Lord in the flesh was going to be at the service, like you would act, we would all act so much differently. Right. It would be, but he actually is. The Lord gave me this revelation. I'll end on this, but the Lord gave me this revelation a while ago in my youth. I used to always think like when I got big opportunities that they were like big breaks. I was like, oh, this is going to be it. Like so-and-so's in the room and I'm leading worship and it's going to be so different. And it's like, maybe they'll invite me to their conference. This is a horrible way of thinking, by the way, but this is how I thought. I'm like, I'm 19. I know everything. So I used to literally think that all the time. And then the Lord like had this moment with me and he's like, every single time you've ever opened your mouth, I've been in the room. And you don't see that as any sort of opportunity. But every time you're put in front of some man, you think they can put you on a stage or they can do so. And it's like, what is the perspective of literally when you're sitting at home on your piano, I'm sitting with you. Wow. And I was like, wow, okay. And changed everything for me. Yeah. It was like, man, there's not even an opportunity that I would want to work for in that way that I would ever want to gain. I want everything to be completely ordained by the Lord. Yeah. I don't want it to be like, oh man, like I felt something in this and then I wanted you here, because whatever a man can give you, they can take it away. Yeah. And I'm like, Lord, I want to have that to where every time I open my mouth, if it's to a Bible study, if it's to a few of my worship team members before we get out on stage, if it's at a massive event, I want it to be stewarded in the same way of, man, you're sitting in these seats. Yeah. And I'm going to give you glory no matter what. Yeah. And so, man.
That's huge. He's always there. Yeah. He's always the special guest. Yeah. You know what I mean? All the time.
And I always want to give my best because he's there.
Yes.
That's like, and it's so easy, especially if you're in full-time ministry, when you do Sundays every week and you do multiple services, it's so easy to be like, all right, phone it in. Like, I know if I say this scripture here, it's going to gain this reaction. Oh, yeah. And it's just like, I just want to encourage all of us to like dig for the fresh manna. Because really that's where like the Lord finds so much delight in, of like every opportunity of a service. I think of like the people in my life that I've prayed for daily to come to know Jesus. What if they walked in that service? Yeah. Like, what if my one person walked in the service that you decided to be tired for? Yes. Or what if someone else's one walked into service that I decided I was going to be offended with someone on the worship team for?
Yeah, that you just got through it.
Yeah, and I sacrificed a whole encounter just for my own self. So I think that's like something that we constantly have to be reminding ourselves of. Oh man, like even this morning of like us being able to just lead worship. Like today, someone may have gotten a breakthrough that they've been praying for the longest time. So it's on us to be able to get out of the way. Yeah. And really say, Lord, man, I honor you in this. I've planned for this. I've prepped for this. I've fasted for this. Yeah.
Not my will, but your will be done every single time. And he deserves it. And like, there are going to be times where we have to press through. There are going to be times where you're going to be tired, where this flesh is going to feel the way it feels. And that's why it's so important to like keep girding yourself up through the word and prayer. That, you know, most people, when they get to those moments, they don't have anything to pull from. Sure. That's why it's easy to be like, I'm just gonna mail it in, because they don't have a like, yo, no, I can go to this scripture. I can go back to this moment where I remember I was praying this week, and literally allow the Lord to be my strength, like in those moments. So
that's beautiful. Well, man, thank you so much, Todd, for taking the time out. I know you're about to head to the airport, but that's it.
I'm grateful. The only reason why I wanted this to end a little quicker is because I've had to burp for like 7 minutes, and I just ate some
Disgusting.
onions.
You literally could have
before that.
left the whole thing without that.
And I've been
This is
like-
honestly probably the holiest you've ever been. You just talked the whole time. We didn't even joke. Nothing.
Because we're so close, and I was like, she's gonna smell these onions if
That's
I burp.
disgusting.
Anyway, thank you for having me.
I'm happy to have you, Todd. You can come back anytime. You're a friend of the podcast.
I'm a friend of the podcast.
This is so crazy to think that I'm a podcast. Who would have thought when you saw me for my first time?
To now.
Man, well, we love you guys so much. We hope you were so encouraged by today. Our prayer every week is that you feel like you're sitting down talking to some of your best friends. We love you. We believe in you. We support you. We're praying for you. If you're under the sound of my voice, you are someone that we pray for, that we intercede for. We're so grateful that you stumbled upon this podcast, praying that you have the best week, and join us next week. Also, listen to all of Todd's music. If you need encouragement, please. I was on the way to a writing session the other day, and I just had Joy Is Coming on repeat the whole time. And that's the first song off of his last record, Encounter. And it's just so much hope. And it's like upbeat. And I'm like, you don't have to sacrifice oil for a fast song, which I just love. Anyway, all of his songs are like that. Go listen. We have songs together. You were on my last record too. Get Your Glory. Look at that. We're just, honestly, we're a duo. We might do a duo album someday.
Oh, that would be amazing.
We've planned 7 tours together, never done them. Maybe someday. But that is all. Love you guys so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.